In this section, we're going to look at some more advanced formulas. We've already looked at some simple formulas like the sum, count, average, and max and min. In this section, we're going to explore some more complex ones. However, there is hundreds, if not thousands, of formulas within Excel. Formulas are the backbone of Excel. They are what gives Excel its incredible functionality. Within formulas, you can manipulate numbers, texts, and values in almost any way you can think of. In terms of the scope of this video, we're going to understand some of the most important functions. With that said, let's start off with the if function. The if function is going to allow us to compare two values. Those could be text values typed into the formula, or they could be cell references. So let's have a look at an if formula in action. Here I have my if formula. The if formula has the following syntax. First of all, a comparison. Secondly, the value if that comparison is true, and the value if that comparison is false. For here, I've just sent my value of true set to true, and value of false is set to false. But these two parameters could be set to any output I want. It could be a text output, or it could be another formula. All we're doing with the syntax of the if is starting with a decision process at the beginning. Is it equal or not? Is it greater than or less than? Followed by what action to take if it's true, and what action to take if it's false. So for example, in the case of my simple comparison here, I could change my true to something like the text matching, and the false value to does not match. Now importantly, notice that I've surrounded these text values with speech marks or double quotes. This tells Excel that I am entering text. If I hadn't applied these speech marks, Excel would have tried to interpret the text as a formula value. It would have tried to calculate the formula does or the formula not. This is not what we want Excel to do. We want Excel to simply print the text without trying to interpret it. As you can see here, these are formula references. They are active values. These values mean something to Excel. They're a position descriptor. Whereas this text, the word matching, doesn't mean anything to Excel. It is simply text. Whenever we have text of this kind, it must be surrounded in speech marks, or Excel will give us an error. In the case of true and false, these are active keywords that Excel recognizes, similar to a formula name or a cell reference. Therefore, in my second example below, I do not need to put quotes around true and false. They are simply values that Excel understands directly. So with my formula updated to these text values, I can now fill the formula down. We can now see that Excel has detected that A is not equal to B, they do not match. And here A is equal to A, they match. B is equal to B, they match. Or to put it another way, B equals B is true. A equals B is not true. Now we've got the foundations of understanding if formula, let's move on to some slightly more complex comparisons. So for example, in this block of data, I may want to find the biggest sale of the period. To do that, I might need a helper function. I need to first calculate the biggest sale of the period. To do that, I can use the formula I've already used, and that's the max. So I type my formula max, select the range I'm interested in, close my bracket, and hit enter. Great, now I know that the maximum value is 299. Now I can find which of these values matches my biggest sale of the period, or my maximum value. Let's add a column header. And now I'm going to use the if function to make a logical comparison between my maximum value and the total sales in any given row. I start my formula with the if, open bracket, and first I need to give a comparison. So is this value, my current row total sales, equal to the maximum? Remember, because the maximum is only fixed to one place, I need to make it an absolute reference by highlighting the cell and using the shortcut F4. I've now locked both column and row, so that cell is not going to move anywhere. To continue with my formula, I type a comma, and now I can enter my value of true. Here I can again perhaps add some text to say highest sale, and my value of false may simply say nothing. If I want my if function to return nothing, I can't just leave the formula blank. I need to specify what kind of return value to apply. If I leave it blank, Excel will print a false. So instead, I'm going to tell it I want to print a blank string, that is blank text. To do that, I open my quotes and close them immediately. Excel now knows to return a string value with no characters. Simply return me a string value that is null. Before I analyze the formula, let's fill down and see how this is working. Sure enough, Excel has detected my highest value. This is where the formula G34 matches I25 is true. Because this condition is true, the value in my true section is returned. For all other cells where this condition was not met, I simply saw a blank returned. So far we've only looked at direct comparisons, whether or not something is equal to something else. But we can also use greater than and less than comparisons, and even not equal to comparisons. Let's start off with a greater than. Let's say I want to apply a 15% bonus commission to any sale above 250. Let's add a new column called commission. From here, in my first row, I will open the if formula, and I will ask Excel to check if the total sales value on row 1 is greater than 250. That is the logical test that I want it to evaluate. If that test is true, I want Excel to return a number this time, a 15% commission. And we can even put a formula within this value of true section. So I can multiply 15% times the total sale value to actually work out the commission value in dollars. If my condition is not satisfied, I want to return nothing. If I want to return a numerical value for nothing, my best option is to add a 0. From here I can now close my if function and hit enter. Before we examine the formula, again I will fill down. To make things a bit clearer, I'm going to add dollar formatting as well. So as we can see here, we have values that are above 250. Therefore, in these situations, Excel has evaluated the condition. Is each value greater than 250? If so, it is multiplied 15% times the value in the total sales column. Here we are starting to examine the power of the if function and how different functions or different calculations can be nested inside an if function. In fact, we can even nest an if function within an if function. But we'll come on to these more complex formulas as we go through the videos. The final type of if comparison we're going to look at is the not equals to comparison. Let's say, for example, our company has decided that commission is not payable on binders. I need to add another comparison via if formula to find any rows where we are selling binders. If we are selling a binder, no commission is payable. So let's add another column. For the purpose of the example, we'll call it net commission. I'll start by typing an equals, my if function. Now I need to tell Excel to perform the comparison against the item sold. And I want it to find values that are not equal to binder. So first of all, let's select the row or column that I'm interested in, the first row which contains an item sold. And now I need to add the not equal operator. The not equals operator is simply the less than, greater than symbol back to back. This combination of two characters tells Excel to find values that are not equal to each other. From here, I tell it to find items that are not equal to binder. Notice that I have to put the word binder in speech marks because Excel doesn't recognize binder as a keyword. It is not a function or a cell reference or anything that Excel inherently understands. It is just text and therefore has to be surrounded by speech marks. From here, I can give it the value of true. My value of true is going to be simply the commission column, and my value of false can just be 0. So what we are saying here, to go through this logic again, is if the item sold is not a binder, then we should pay commission. Otherwise, not. I've closed off my formula, so we can hit enter. And I will fill down my formula. So I can now see that my commission has persevered where we're dealing with any other item other than the binder, where commission is not payable. This is our basic introduction to if functions. if functions are fundamental to combining any large function in Excel, so it's well worth getting familiar with it.